Hey everyone, welcome back to Collector Chatter. Is Funko now making designer toys?
Collecting is the way. Now let's chat.
Hey everyone, welcome back. This is episode 92 of Collector Chatter. I'm your host, as always, Migs, here with my co-host Charlie. And we are excited for this episode because we can't
Yes.
wait to talk about some interesting stuff in the Funko world. Like I said in that intro, are they now getting into designer toys? We have something special. We got Freddy coming back. Can't wait to talk about that stuff. We also have some announcements for the Chicago like C2E2 like convention that's going to be going on that Funko's going to be a part of, which also has us thinking of some potential new things to come out in there. Uh,
Yes.
I'm sure you guys saw everything that had to do with the new Pop Yourself Dunkings, which is all over the world. So like we're going to talk about that. That's going to be crazy. And then we'll end things with some Lorcana because we have the new wave coming out very soon. Well, it's kind of technically already out, but we'll talk about it and we can't wait. But we're going to start it off with the big news, which was just recently announced. And it is, of course, something that Funko is calling Project Fred, which I think is pretty
Yes.
interesting to see it that way because we've always seen Freddy as Freddy, right? Now we're seeing him as Fred. He's all grown up, even though he looks younger in this mold, but it's interesting. But yeah, two parts of this because one of them is like a video that released strictly about Project Fred and like it's coming soon, March 7th type of thing. But we do have an event, which will be today, if you're listening to this on Tuesday, 27th, today and tomorrow, the 28th, which we may get more news. So again,
Yeah.
we're talking about this on Sunday. So if you guys know more than what we're saying now, maybe that's because we're a little late to this, but we're excited to talk about it. But Charlie, you can kind of say your part of what kind of happened with Funko
Yeah.
dropping this like little bit of a bombshell, and what do we think this is going to be?
Yeah. So they announced today on or yesterday on social media. They did a really nice video, in my opinion. It was kind of showing the history of Freddy, and they're saying that we're taking it back to the beginning. And it kind of ended with like a silhouette. And if you kind of pause the frames, you could see that it looked like it was going to be Big Boy, which is why it's tying into this event that you just talked about. But they're calling it Project Fred. And the first thing that when I saw it, I mean, I was pretty excited for this. This is announcement or just piece of social media. We kind of said like Funko's been a little, you know, lost on social media. It seems within the past few weeks, who's ever running it now is doing a great job. They're getting people talking about them. And this was they repeated that success from starting it off, in my opinion, with the Kelsey pop. And they've been riding that wave of just different things. And the first thing I thought was like, oh, Funko is going to be making a designer type toy, like a higher end collectible, limited pieces to kind of do what we've been saying, other YouTubers have been saying, bring it back, which is kind of even what they're kind of saying within this, you know, piece of getting the real fans back. I got pumped for it. There's a
Mhm.
few things we'll talk about in a bit that makes me a little less excited and skeptical, but the initial like marketing piece, I was like, wow, Funko's. I texted you immediately. I jumped the gun, but
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, this is amazing.
Yeah. And yeah, when I saw it, I mean, I agree. The video was done very well. They clearly have a great team behind them when they, could put out some stuff. There's some stuff that's a little suspect on the production side that we talk about all the time with some of their videos and things they put out there. But for the most part, like, yes, recently they definitely have stepped things up. We see for sure a change. It's not like the old days where we saw like a lot of people in front of the camera really trying to press
Yep.
and push things. Like they're actually just putting out good content that is like whether it's videos, photos, or just the way they're changing how they're dropping things. Like you said, to Jason Kelsey was the very first time Funko jumped onto the like a not the first time they jumped onto like a meme
Yeah.
type thing, but they pushed it in the sense of like where they came out with the first time of a pre-order. They don't usually ever do that.
No.
I think that was brilliant. We talked about that, of course, in a previous episode. Definitely make sure to listen to it. But with this thing, it's another like kind of like a cool way to just drop it out of nowhere. We get a great looking video. It shows a lot of old school stuff, like you said, like they're bringing it back to the beginning. And when you think of like old school Funko, like in the beginning, you think of like a few things. You think of like bobbleheads.
Yep.
You think of Big Boy specifically because that was one of the first things they were making in any type of figure. So like to see that kind of tied in together, it's like, all right, cool. This is kind of like that old, we get that nostalgic feel, which Funko was always known for that nostalgic thing. That's why you
Yes.
got a lot of pops because they made you feel nostalgic, whether it was a movie or show or something growing up that you loved. And this kind of shows that. Now, does this mean it's going to perfectly tie into what everybody wants and whatever? No, we're going to go over what we think.
No.
Obviously, this will eventually be, as well as some like rumored chatter out there on like what this potentially is going to cost and like just a lot of stuff behind it, which is very interesting. This is why we were like, oh, are they getting into the designer toys thing? Because jokingly, but like, is this what they're doing? But just off the bat, we'll talk about the figure, like you said. So obviously there is a picture that has kind of gone around where you see a mold of this little character, got a big hair, he's got his crown kind of cocked to the side, and it's like a just one color, almost was like a proto type of mold. And then there is a second one, which is more of like a big boy version, which there is actually been a sticker like window cling on the front of a
Yep.
door that actually says Funko Project Fred, and he's in the big boy outfit. He's got a cheeseburger crown, which is pretty awesome. I don't know if you noticed that that's what it was.
It's
So
sick.
it's like, yeah, it's super cool. So definitely like different, thinking outside the box, but like, what does this mean? Like, is this a new line? Is just an exclusive like thing they're gonna drop for this event or to just kind of build hype behind this? Like, I think we're kind of still in the dark on what this necessarily means because this whole Project Fred thing is supposed to be March 7th, is what I'm assuming is like when it'll officially really come out.
Yeah.
But like we said, we have an event going on, which Charlie kind of alluded to, the Back to the Beginning, which is going to be at Burbank, California, which is, of course, like I said, today and tomorrow. And this is kind of what we're thinking we'll see more information. Obviously, it's going to be at a Big Boys, like the location. So that makes sense that it's going to tie to that like big boy version of this Project Fred or whatever. But I don't know, like, what do you think that's where we're gonna get like a big boy version of this? And it's gonna be like, okay, this is a cool new product that we're gonna come out with. March 7th will be officially where we get more of them, or is this just kind of like a one-off thing and that's gonna be like a special event? I'm still kind of like back and forth because I feel like either way would make sense, but I don't know.
I agree. I feel like either way could make sense, but I do think it's going to be a new line. Um, which I know people are joking already on social media. I thought they're getting rid of like stuff and they're slimming down, but like coming out with a new line, I don't think means that they aren't still doing that. I think this is the launch party, the first Wacky Wobblers, even it wasn't the first NFTs, but like when Funko got into Pop Digital Bobs, um, was some of the originals. Like I think that they're going to um like Big Boys has always been a big part of the company. So why not start off Big Boys with this new product, which doesn't resonate with everyone. But if you're huge, here's where I think it doesn't matter though. The fans are probably going after for this product line, if it is the high end designer toy that we think it is, they will want this because it's like Funko history. In
Yeah.
my opinion, I do think it's a good way to start it off.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that. And it makes sense. But when you think of like the company in a whole and you really put everybody that they're, collectors out there and people that are buying their products and whatever, like, is this going to be too niche of a thing that it's like, is it really benefiting them? Like, is it really going to like be something that is hit out of the park? And mostly the reason why I'm saying that is because of some of the rumors that we've been hearing, not
Yes,
just because of
yes.
the product or not just because of like, something new. Like, yeah, I can jump into that boat with everybody else. And I pretty much do agree that it's like, they're supposed to slim down. Clearly, they kind of are. We've seen that they're getting rid of a lot of certain things. We're not
Yes.
seeing so many sodas going out. We're not seeing rewinds going out. Like a lot of stuff that's like kind of been pulled back. But it's like I would have expected them to just revamp what they're currently doing and kind of boost that, not necessarily come out with another product line. To me, that just doesn't make sense. Now, this could totally be what they're doing, but it kind of is like not really following what they say and they're supposed to be doing. And it's like, especially if this price point is what we're hearing, you're completely like doing the opposite of what we were trying to say. Now, yes,
Yes.
this makes it more like the collector and like this is old school, whatever. But I don't know. But like you kind of read into some stuff on X, formerly Twitter.
Yes, I would.
It still sounds so weird.
I know. I still call it
And
Twitter.
yeah, I mean, it still tweets and everything to me. But you did see something
Yeah.
which kind of alluded to potentially what this is going to look like, size,
Yeah.
price, and whatever.
Which was a little disappointing. And what that rumored is, it's coming from people who, normally know what they're talking about, but it's still just a rumor, is that it's an 11-inch figure, which when you look at like the images and stuff like that doesn't scream how big it was going to be at all.
Yeah.
And that it's, wait for it, $295. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's like super plastic, like really high end
Hot
designer
toys.
toys. Hot. I mean, you could like you get a hot toy for that price. And I mean this nice way. I love Funko. I'd much rather have a hot toy than this.
Yeah.
Like that's where this is gonna be a mistake of that's really what it is.
Yeah. That's where we're like kind of like questioning, like, is this a smart move if that's what they're going to go with? Now, clearly people are going to still go after it. There'll be people buying it. I mean, we kind of saw a similar thing when it came to that Iron Man
Yeah.
gold NFT collection thing, which obviously like came with an NFT. It was a little bit, of a
It's a
collab
little different.
and it was a little different, but it was still a high price point. It was a big figure. Like it kind of falls into that similarities is what I was saying. So like but at the same time, there was a lot of people that were just like not about that.
No.
Like even though it sold and it made a decent amount of a piece
The
count,
VV
but
partnership really
yeah,
helped
yeah,
that.
yeah. But like Funko was like, no way, it's not doing it and whatever. So what's funny is like tying back to that product as well is that this kind of reminds me of like what I think they thought gold was going to be
Yeah.
because I still to this day remember grabbing the first original like few of the wrappers and whatever, and being like, "Oh wow, this is Funko's like action figure." That's one of the things I would call it because the arms and legs move. So like, oh, this is their way of kind of like having that. But because of how heavy and solid and everything the vinyl like was, I was like, oh, maybe this is more of their premium. And it said it premium vinyl all in the box. Like this is their designer toy. It was clearly a flop, and they invested a ton into it, and having an entire enormous room in Hollywood or wherever it was, and it clearly didn't really do
Do
well.
anything.
So it's like, are they trying that again? Do they want to be in that market and not just be like a just regular Funko Pop company? So again, we're really talking before seeing anything official besides just those two quick little screenshots and that video of knowing really what this is. Now we may completely hear a different story come today, tomorrow,
Yeah.
whatever, when you guys are listening. And maybe it'll surprise us, but if it's at that price point, that's wild. If it's that big, I mean, think that that's even kind of wild because a lot of the bigger stuff doesn't sell as much lately.
No.
Um, but yeah, to me, it looks kind of like it's like their version of like a U2s or what's a Kid Robot, like so, like those type of
Yeah.
figures where like that's what kind of looks like what they're doing, and like it's cool, it's interesting, and it's different, and we like a lot of those like companies, so like it makes sense, but I wonder, like, is this going to be a line, and are we going to get multiple versions of this? And is this going to be constantly something that we see? We see it at like cons or whatever. I mean, I guess we'll see. I also wouldn't be surprised if it was just for this event and it was like a one-time thing just to kind of pay homage to the old school Big Boy and the original stuff. And it's just going to be like a super exclusive thing. Cause in that sense, it's like, cool. If you get one, you get one. If you don't, it's
Yeah.
whatever. And then we keep moving on with our regular Funko
I
products.
thought about that, but the fact that they made that announcement video and it's not until March makes me feel like it is a new product line. If they didn't do that and they kind of teased it to the event today, then I would totally agree. I'm like, this is just a special figure that they made. They made that mold. And as we know from other designer toy companies, once you have that mold, you can kind of then just paint over what you
Yeah.
want it to look like. You can have a million glows. You can change the way it looks. You can do this, this, and that. And part of me is like, is that what they're going for? It also reminds me a little bit of, are you familiar with like Bear Bricks?
No.
They're like these little figures, but then they make huge ones. They look kind of like a Mickey Mouse like head, but they make them in all these different.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I've seen those.
They're expensive too.
I didn't
Like
realize
you
that
would
was a
never
name for some
know.
reason.
They're like
Oh
hundreds of
yeah, they're very
dollars.
expensive. Yeah, they're very expensive.
So it's just like, do they think that that could just get them some easy cash? Another thing that I'm curious though about is this a creation of, I'm getting the vibe it's a Mike creation, which like he hasn't, I don't think really made a product for the company in a while.
Mhm.
And that could be another reason. Like, I mean, we've said it a million times, like sodas, that was a Brian product. For all you know, like Mike and Brian had a bad falling out and don't really like each other anymore. And he's like, let's get rid of all of his stuff. And that's another, I've been thinking about that recently. It's just kind of like, yeah, I never liked sodas. Brian made those. Let's get rid of them. Let's get
Yeah,
rid of this. And then I have some new ideas that no one let me do.
yeah. I mean, it, it seems like it could be something that would be. I just the size and that price point. I think it would be a mistake.
I wonder if they all
Now,
won't be big, like they'll,
yeah,
like the gold, like we'll get different
exactly.
sizes.
Maybe we get smaller ones, and if that's the case, like, okay, this is a cool new looking product. Maybe it's a little bit pricier than a pop because of the material. Maybe it is better, whatever it is. Maybe that's their version, but I don't know. I'm just like with this company, with the amount of stuff they have made and failed, or made and then discontinued. It's just
Yeah.
I don't see how they think like continuing to do these brand new things that are clearly not working besides the original normal pop. Like that's pretty much the definition of insanity. Like they're just continuing to do different things just to see if one of them hits. Like think about it, bro. Like
No, you're not wrong.
we're going back to days of Dorbs and like the rock candy stuff. Like, yeah, some of those things were terrible, but at the time they probably thought, oh, this was cool, and then it didn't work. The
But
Funko
the thing
Pop still
that's
kept going.
crazy about that, though, if you had that logic, and I do agree with you on this, but then we never would have gotten soda.
But
With
look at what soda's, yes, but then it's still technically failing now. Like then it seems like they're not gonna make it anymore. You get what I'm saying?
but they
Like,
screwed that up.
yeah, they definitely
Where
did,
like
and I think
rock
it
candy
was
just sucked. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah. But like it's just wild because I think of like they vinyl, like they've made like a
yeah,
lot of
it's
other
probably too soon to do
figures.
this. Too soon.
Yeah, especially in a time where like we're gonna cut back and we need to, go back to our core. Like I get the whole like it's the OG beginner, like but even like wacky wobblers and bobbleheads, which were the original stuff. Like
Yeah.
those are just antiques essentially at this
And
point.
maybe we're like speculating, having fun right now about this, and it's really nothing.
Yeah,
That's another
again,
thing.
we are talking about this early, well, not early on because it was literally just announced, but like, yeah, we're just kind of giving our take of what we think it might be. But it is interesting, and the fact that it's called Project Fred is also interesting because that's like that could mean a lot of
Yeah.
different things. Like,
It's a cool name.
what are they going by with this? Yeah, um, but yeah, definitely let us know. I mean, obviously, what you guys think, and then once we officially start getting information on this, of course, we'll kind of know more exactly what this is and the price or what it might be or
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, I'm a little skeptical though, a little more than like
Which is totally
excited.
fair.
And it's yeah, just with Funko, it's more like let me see it, let's see what it's gonna do, and then we'll talk about it kind of thing. But yeah, that's an interesting thing that is happening right now because it is bringing hype to Funko though. At the end of the day,
It
they're
is.
clearly marketing it the right way, regardless if it ends up being something that not everyone's gonna love. They're getting people excited about not knowing what it is, and I like that they're doing that kind of thing. Same thing like when we talked about with the NFTs being announced ahead of time, like three of them. Like
Yep.
I was all about that. Like that's just exciting, and it's like cool. Now we know. So yeah, this is kind of one of those things a little bit mysterious, but we'll see what it means. And the event, of course, we'll probably know more if they're going to have some other stuff special to the whole big boy and all that kind of thing. But yeah, definitely look out for March 7th for sure for when I guess this is officially announcing or
Yeah.
dropping at least. Uh, we'll move on to the next topic, which is going to be the Chicago. This is the C2E2 event that will be taking place in April. This is going to be April 26th, 27th, and 28th. And this, of course, is in Chicago. Pretty cool, like another retro, old school vibe to this.
Yeah.
It's, got the Pan Am airline flight type of like theme. This is, of course, going to be Funko, but they're also going to have Mondo and Loungefly there, like they usually do at their booths and stuff for these other events. But this is only is this a like Funko only type of event though, or is there going to be
Oh
like
no,
other complete? This is
this is a
like the
full
actual
fledged like
con. Okay.
going to New York Comic Con.
hmm So they're
It's
going to
one
be
of the
probably
bigger
there,
ones.
but have they done anything
They've never
themselves?
gone
Never.
there before. I'm gonna
Okay.
go with because logistically, for them, they're normally like I think they come to New York because New York is huge. Like it's not as big as New York. Because like MegaCon just happened, which is pretty big, but it's in Florida.
Yeah.
It's not convenient for them. They do the West Coast, East Coast, but I'm sure someone must have told them we should have a presence here. Is
Yeah.
what I'm thinking.
It's also interesting because I feel like they no longer doing like Emerald City and
Yeah,
WonderCon and those little things because we don't hear anything about that. And I feel like
no,
by now there would have been one. And if they're going to do Chicago, maybe that's what they're doing instead. Uh, but a few things that are interesting about this, obviously, it's going to be a big con, but we'll see kind of more closer to what we get. We'll talk about, I'm sure, if they have exclusives and stuff. Will we see some sodas? Because like we were saying, they're only going to be at cons probably, but who
oh
knows?
yeah.
Maybe if we don't see any on this, we know sodas are gone.
Well, this is where we're getting the Jimmy the Cricket actually.
Okay, so then yes, you did say that before that it was going to be only to like that one was only at a con. But I think the most interesting thing is this photo. There's a couple little like
Yes.
Easter egg type things, and along with it being Funko Airways and everything like that, and we got obviously the little Freddy. We have a proto, and we got a picture again of the little Mrs. Freddy. We want to call her now because she doesn't really have an official name.
Yeah.
Uh, and of course, there's speculation behind what's this is mean. Does this mean we're going to get actually that character as a figure, which we've kind of hinted towards? Like if we can get a female version of Freddy as, characters, that'll be huge. But we don't know exactly if this is that or what. But I don't know what you think. Like, do you
I
think that's what it is? Or
I think it's totally what it is. I think we will get the first ever figure of whatever this character will be called here, and it will be her as like whatever person working for the airline. Like that'll be like the first one. We'll probably
okay.
get a Freddy that way. We'll probably get a Proto. They were smart. They'd make a cool limited 3-pack, but we'll probably get three individual ones.
Yeah.
And I think that's their way of gauging, which I think is smart. Do people want this before we go full fledged ham at San Diego Comic Con by including her in the box of fun? That's like
Yeah.
my prediction. So
Yeah, which makes sense. We
yeah,
always usually get Freddy specifically at some of these other conventions as like, one that's not it's an exclusive to the con, but it's not part of like the fun days. It's not like
yeah,
that's him as a crazy IP. It's more just like him in a basic, outfit. And yeah, totally seeing it in this photo makes you think that like we will get a version of that. I mean, I feel like they wouldn't have put it there if we
I
don't
agree.
at
Why
least for
would you? Yeah,
specifically as this little stewardess or whatever. Like that has to be what it is. But it is interesting to see like what this is going to mean. And obviously, this is coming in April. I think it looks like there's the reservation stuff are opening April 4th specifically. Um, but yeah, we'll get more obviously stuff revealed, which that might be when the rumor is that exclusives will start being revealed. So the beginning of April for this event, which will be towards the end of April. Uh, but yeah, it seems like everyone's pretty excited for it, and they're excited that not only they are in Chicago, but like, what does this mean with the whole little Miss Freddy or whatever you want to call her? Because we don't know yet until about this official character. But let us know what you guys think about this. We just thought this was pretty cool because it is a big convention. We haven't really gotten big convention news.
yeah,
And this is exciting, especially if we do get that other character, which we had a long talk about what we thought that was going to be and the potential of having so many more exclusive versions of female characters like in the Fun Days box and stuff
yeah. I
like
think
that. So,
Funko needs it. It's another thing to add excitement on the excitement train. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I think it's really smart. Also, guys, if you haven't already, if you could please like this video, and if you hopefully we've earned your subscription by now. But if you haven't, if you could please subscribe. So, and like Nick said,
Absolutely.
let us know in the comment like what you're thinking about. Are we getting a new? Will it be Freddy's girlfriend? Will it just be Freddy's friend? Well,
Yeah.
I think they'll just go. It's Freddy's friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let us know what you
That's what
think.
I think. That's what I think. Uh, but we'll go to the next topic. So this one is more along the lines of like this like fun little thing that Funko decided to jump on, and went along with, and it was, of course, one of the big Super Bowl commercials was Dunkings, which was a Dunkin' commercial, of course, which was like a band that they created, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon and stuff. And it was like a funny little, like, well, commercial and like a
Yeah.
thing. And obviously they had these tracksuit jumpsuits, and we saw this in the beginning. We kind of remember they put a little heart that was like a donut, and we were like, what does this mean? And we kind of figured it out. They're like, oh, this probably is like a Dunkin' Donuts type of thing. And then we thought, okay, we'll be the Dunkins thing, but originally we thought it was going to be like they were going to drop those pops,
Yeah.
and we were going to get like a 3 pack or something like that of them. And it wasn't. They basically just made this as a way of kind of pushing their pop yourself, but they're now having these options to wear these outfits so you could be part of the band. And they're really pushing this. This is, kind of falls along with your whole little thing, like their social media and their marketing and
Yeah.
things, like really going, because they're having like individual like little videos with people like Fluffy, who they obviously love collabing with. They did a couple. They did
They did
one
one with
with
Lance Bass.
Lance Bass, who's also been. These are people
Yeah.
who they kind of worked with already,
Yeah.
so it makes sense. But yeah, not only is it with them, but they have them like actually like pushing this whole thing, be part of the band, are you in the
Hardcore.
band or whatever. And at first I was kind of like, oh, it's pretty cool if it was a Dunkin' thing. And when I saw it was a Pop Yourself, I was like it's okay, it's all right. They're really pushing the Pop Yourself. I like the Pop Yourself. It's cool. It's just like you're basically getting a license into one of their like outfits. So like
Yep.
maybe this will open up for more stuff, which would
Exactly.
be more exciting. Yeah. Like if we can actually get official IP kind of like outfits or props or something like that, or hats, things like that we can get. This will kind of be maybe their way in there. What is interesting though is that there's like a special box for this one
Which is
even,
cool.
which yeah has like a lot of like the donuts and coffee and stuff on it, so it also kind of ties along with that. But overall, like them jumping on to something that was like popping and really like in the social media right now makes sense, and it's smart. They obviously did it with the Chase and Kelsey stuff right away. They've done it in the past with some other products, but it's a smart way of them to kind of stay with the relevant train and be like, oh, we're gonna jump on with this. I just didn't love that it's just them getting an official like license to put an outfit on a pop when you're creating it.
Yeah.
So it's like it's whatever. I'm not gonna get one of these. I'm not a hardcore Duncan fan like that.
Which is
And
disgrace from someone from
yeah, I know,
Massachusetts.
and that's another thing. Like, I mean, like I like
I'm
Duncan,
joking.
but no, for sure though. I know what you mean, because there are some hard. I mean, look at freaking Ben Affleck. Guy walks around with Duncan in his hand at all
Yeah.
times.
I mean,
So
that
like,
commercial is basically real. That ain't just
yeah,
fake.
100%. And like, yeah, like growing up in Massachusetts, like obviously Dunkin' was everywhere. That was our like now. I guess I'm down here. It's Starbucks is everywhere down in the New York and Jersey area, but Dunkin' was obviously originated up there, and that's like a big deal. But I'm not going out there and wearing like Dunkin' merch, and like, it's
No,
just
yeah, no,
like
I know what you
whatever.
mean.
But it's cool. It's a cool idea. It's fun. But like I said, I think it's more important that it opens up like maybe other licenses into this, because the pop yourself thing is a great way to get other people, especially people that aren't really into Funko. We talked about that before as well, like just getting them to just make a pop of themselves and be like, oh, this is cool. I'm a toy, or whatever it is. So with the Duncan stuff, cool. Interesting. I don't know what you guys think. Was that anybody running out there and grabbing one of these of themselves? Because this is like the new wave they're jumping on. Like, are you part of the band or whatever? But yeah, I don't know. I think overall it's cool, but I'm assuming you're kind of in the same boat.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would have been better to have like a Ben Affleck Funko Pop.
Yeah.
I immediately thought it was gonna follow the exact same train as the Jason Kelsey. Okay, we have another cool thing, and we'll do the pre-order because like that's another thing. I don't know if you've noticed. This is a pre-order thing too. It ends at the end of the week.
Oh, it
Once
is.
March 1st hits, you can no longer get it.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
interesting though.
So like it
Which I mean,
makes
I guess
a
makes sense. They don't need to have this all year round type
they
of thing.
don't, which it makes it timely and it makes it a little more limited, which I think is kind of cool. Um, and yeah, I was disappointed at first, but I kind of came along the ride and thinking it's cool. And like you said, I know we had talked about this, I think opens up the opportunity of licensing. We've said it before, Pop Yourself is clearly one of their biggest initiatives right now, and they're trying everything. I mean, I thought this was a little cooler than um around the holiday times, they really push you to like, okay, you can now get him in a skeleton costume for Halloween. You can do a Santa costume for Christmas. Like, as much as I think that is cool, I think this is better because it does feel a little more like special, where the other
Mhm.
one still, I love that it comes in that box too. To me, that makes the product much better. If it came in the normal box, I actually think it's dumb.
Yeah.
To me, as weird as it sounds, like the box makes it better. Um, but I do ultimately think this is a test. Duncan just happened to be the first one. And Duncan's like more hip. Not that it's not popular on the East Coast, it's huge, but it's slowly and going to the West Coast. So not only this was commercial was huge, but people out there, I think it's this much more magical thing than us people over in East Coast who've had it our whole life.
Yeah.
Um, but like if we could get like I've joked, oh, I can put my pop yourself on a Mando and you can do a Joker, which is our
Yeah.
logo for a collector trailer. Like I think that'd be super cool. And I do think this is the beginning of that,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
which yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, like, hopefully we're right with that because if that's the case, it does make that whole little product line even cooler and better and more unique and authentic. So hopefully we can get some more of that stuff in there. But yeah, for now we got some Duncan tracksuits if you want to be part of that. Yeah. So switching gears away from Funko and into one of our other, loves of as of lately, Disney Lorcana when it comes to the trading card game. We officially now are starting to see the third wave and the third set,
Yeah.
which is called Into the Inklands, which we have spoken about before when it was officially announced that this was going to be the third wave. Disney also came out and said, well, Ravensburg or whoever it might have been, they officially said we're going to be seeing 4 sets this year. I'm assuming maybe they'll do that every year. Who knows? That might get a little crazy, but for this year at least, we're getting 4 sets, and the first one is the into the Inklands line. So we started seeing that they're actually popping up in like small comic shops and like those kind of places. The official like widespread Targets and Best Buys and things like that will officially be coming out on the 8th of
Yes.
March, which will
March.
be next weekend or next week. Uh, but you're able to start pre-ordering and doing that kind of stuff. So we did see that, Amazon came along and did their little thing where you can do the invitation to get a booster box. But they did have pre-orders for some of the
Starter decks.
starter decks, and they're probably going to start popping up with a lot of their other
The
products.
gift set,
Um,
the treasure
yeah, the
trove.
Trove, exactly. And then Best Buy had pre-orders of the booster box, which weren't
Yeah.
an invitation, which I know we were both able to
Both
jump on
got.
there and
Yeah.
grab. So those are supposed to ship out around the time that they officially come out on the 8th, which is gonna be interesting because this set's pretty cool if you're into, the Lorcana game at all. If you don't know about it, definitely check it out and get into it because it's super cool. Set if you're a Disney fan, it's amazing because the artwork on these cards is so
It's
awesome.
amazing.
You're getting a lot of excuse me, a lot of variety of different characters and stuff. And now 2 sets in, like we're seeing a ton of pretty awesome cards on the collector side. It's awesome. It's got crazy value. It's great to collect and see these. But then even on the like, trading card game player side, like the game is just evolving. And now with this third set, we're gonna start getting officially like location cards, which are really cool. It's actually 3 per like ink color that you're gonna see. And then one thing that was interesting about the set when I was looking into it is that there's more enchanteds in this set than there are in any of the other ones.
Yeah.
So I guess the pull rate technically would be a little bit more like less rare and easier to get, even though it's still kind of hard. There's 18 versus 12 in the first
And
set
there's
and 12 in the second
locations
set.
this time.
And a couple yeah, there's 3 or 4 locations. Then there's even like an item, which is technically considered one of the enchanted as well.
Yep.
But yeah, definitely check out some of the videos of, I've opened up a few boxes, some packs. I know Charlie's finally starting to get through
Yep.
to opening some as well and has been recording. I know we've talked about it for a little while, but
Yeah,
we
they're
finally
actually
got the
coming.
ball rolling on that.
Yeah.
So I know he's opened up some stuff. I pulled some pretty sick stuff in the 2 boxes that I've opened. So I'm excited definitely to get this box in and the starter decks as well because that'll help fill out that collection. Because these sets are pretty big. They're like 230 to 240 cards per,
Yeah, this new one's
and
231
yeah,
cards. It's
this is
like
a little more,
crazy.
and then each one has an option of getting it in like the foil, like holographic. So it's definitely going to be a pretty sweet set. And I really want them to come out with a Pixar
Me too.
line or
I'm
wave.
yeah, me
I
too.
feel like they kind of have to. If they just stick with Disney, they don't go like venture out to like the Marvels and Star Wars, which I don't think they need to. I think Pixar has to be somehow involved in getting a set. But it's definitely like, I don't know, what are your thoughts? I'm sure you're just as excited as I am for this.
Yeah, I'm loving it. And we're getting a little more obscure characters in this one.
Yeah.
I'm pumped for the DuckTales. We're getting a bunch of that, like Scrooge McDuck. I mean, he's even on a lot of the packaging. He's on one of the
Mhm.
starters. We're getting like a box of him. And I mean, I'm like looking at them right now on my phone, the app, because
Jafar is a really
the fars
big
and
one
like if
this
you are
wave.
into Lorcana and you haven't downloaded their app yet, like you should do that because it is so detailed and it's such a great way to keep track of your collection. And like I said, I'm just looking at these now and I really like the locations too this
Mhm.
time around, which adds a new aspect to the game. Like you get Pride Rock, which that looks amazing. Um, yeah, I'm super excited. And like you said, Pixar is what I really want. And there's no doubt in my mind we'll get that. I feel like that will be one of the expansions this year. And they'll probably start off, and this is total speculation, probably a Pixar set. And then they'll just like sprinkle Pixar once it's been like introduced into the game. I feel like it'll all just blend in with everything else that they're doing
Yeah,
because
that
there's
makes sense.
so many characters that they could do. And, a lot of people, especially like younger generations, like that's just Disney. Like they don't even like think of it. Like
Yeah.
this is like Woody and Buzz are Disney characters. Like
Hmm.
they need to be in this game.
Yeah.
And they've done it before. Like there's this like mirror verse like game. They've even made action figures, which is kind of, I don't want to say Lorcana like it's definitely inspired, I think, a little bit like that by giving them different looks. They've done that for Pixar before in that game that I'm talking about, so it's very easily brought over
Hmm.
into the Lorcana world. So
Yeah. Yeah, it would be cool. It just makes total sense. Like you said, definitely a full wave of it would probably be the best way to really introduce a lot of people. But even in this last one, there's definitely a lot of characters in it that I actually don't even really know. Like some
yeah,
of
they
them
did
were,
Treasure Planet in this one, which
yeah,
is
which I don't know
super.
too much of Treasure Planet, so I know
Yeah,
that for sure there was some in there that I was like, yeah, I don't even know what that is, but like it's still cool to see. And like I said, the artwork is amazing on like pretty much all these cards. So we're definitely excited for that. You know, we've talked about it before. Like we said, we like getting them and opening them as much as we can. They are becoming a little bit more easily accessible,
they
to get
are.
them at places. But getting another new set is going to be exciting because I've seen some people rip some of these open and there's some pretty sick looking cards. And I'm hoping to keep my streak going by opening
I
boxes and
I know.
pulling some fire. So definitely excited to see what we get for that.
It's just funny
Uh,
though that you say that, even though it's become like more accessible. I mean, I know maybe at one point the prices were ridiculous, but like a lot of cards are still holding value and some of them are even going up.
mhm.
Which
It it's an interesting, like, I don't know if trading card games in general do this, and especially because this is like coming from the ground up as a brand new set. But I found it interesting how the values are with these things because they really do go up and down both like a
yeah,
lot. And they like some have kind of plateaued and sit around a certain number, but for the most part, like one week you'll see a card and it's like, got pretty decent value. The next week it's like worth nothing. Or another card that wasn't really anything, and then out of nowhere it just becomes really popular. And I know a lot of that also has to do with like the game itself and like
yeah,
what's an very good card playing wise, and what ink colors are working better against other ones. They're in tournaments, and like as that information, kind of comes out and the whole meta talk and everything, certain cards tend to have a little bit more value than other ones. But it is cool seeing the rarities and these
yeah.
enchanteds and like those that for the most part will keep a really good value because they're clearly the hardest to pull. And being able to like try to get those is like interesting. I've really gotten into like watching a lot of videos and stuff, people opening, playing, or just opening boxes. And it's definitely one of the things I enjoy, outside of just, figures and stuff. So
No,
I've
me
even
too.
gotten into like baseball cards again. Like I went back
Oh
and I was at
yeah.
my mom's house, and yeah, this was wild. Went back to my mom's house like maybe a few weeks ago. And while I was there, like in her basement, there was an old bin that had like stuff of mines and a bunch of things. And there was she had a plastic container, which is pretty decent size, and it was full of all my old like baseball cards and stuff. And I was like, oh my, I completely forgot about these. But as I was seeing them, I could remember seeing
Yeah,
them
which
in
is
my hands
cool.
at one point. And I was like, I'm gonna take this home. So I took it home, and it took me 2 separate days because I had to go through these. And these, I had to wear gloves at one point because these things were just like in yeah, there was like acorns inside this box and like random stuff. I was like,
This is
what the hell is in
amazing.
this bin, bro? And I went through them, and I'm talking probably a couple thousand cards in there easily.
It's
Like it
crazy.
was crazy how you can get to thousands, but there was thousands. And 90 something percent of them I pretty much ended up just tossing because they were just like random cards that did not really have value. And like I just didn't want to hold them just to hold them.
Yeah.
But I was able to set aside because I was going through prices and looking at stuff that maybe had some type of value, started putting them in sleeves and top loaders. And I was able to fill almost essentially like an entire 100 pack set. Plus, I have extra ones I didn't get to fill. I even have them here actually. And I put them back into the box, but they're like literally all in here.
Well,
And it's like, yeah, there's some pretty nice stuff in there. Now, majority of them are not in the best condition. Like I said, this was back before I really knew anything about collecting these things. They were in
yeah, when
binders
you're
and
a
put
kid.
into bins. They've been tossed all over the place. My mom had no care for any of these. Some of the corners were messed up. I was finding cards, dude. It was hilarious because I have two younger brothers. I was finding cards in there that had like in pen, like autograph drawings on them that my brother definitely was drawing on. And I'm like, what the hell? Why would you write it? And again,
That
there
is
weren't cards that were like the
hilarious.
most valuable, but in my mind, I'm like, how was he doing? Or drawing a picture of a guy with a mustache on one of the faces, like random stuff. It was so funny seeing some of this old stuff. But I mean, I had some old, like some of these are like dusty cards, but like some of these are from like the 70s. I don't
Wow.
even know how I still have them, but majority of them were like 89, 90, 91. And that's kind of, I guess, when I was really started getting these from people and stuff. But yeah, it's interesting because I started getting back into the cards now. Now I'm even look. I know you started buying new cards, and
Yeah, I bought, yeah. I
I
saw
was
him the
looking
story
at
the other day.
some.
I'm like, it is funny. We have collecting in our blood, and it's like,
Doesn't matter, bro. It doesn't matter what it is. I've done it
and
with sneakers. I've done it.
yeah,
It's crazy. I've done it
and
with
as much
DVDs.
as I know we're not stopping with Funko or with, actual figures, but we've slowed down a little, and like there's something nice about the cards. They don't take up any room. That's like what we
Yeah, I
always
know.
talk about.
So much easier.
You get a box, they're cool, and like in a weird way, I mean, we're huge sports fans, and I said to myself, like, I haven't collected baseball cards in forever, and I loved it. I mean, they're not expensive. Why
Hmm.
not open them make some videos, have fun with it. And if you get some cool ones, you get some cool ones. Like, yeah,
Yeah. It's just it's like a thing that like I've always wanted to really get back into, but I feel
yeah.
like it's so big. There's so many different
It's
versions,
intimidating.
so many, but yeah, very intimidating. There's different packs, and it's like, do I get the right one, or is this just gonna have garbage in it? I don't even know. I'm not up into this
Yeah, it
anymore.
wasn't like that when we were younger.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like even like UFC has cards, and I was actually at Barnes Noble the other day, and we were getting my daughter some books because we promised we would get her some there. And right behind the desk, like where we're checking out, they have cards, and I'm looking because they actually had
I
two
don't think I've ever noticed that they had cards like
yeah,
that there.
yeah, they had a bunch. They have like even Pokemon and stuff, and then they had Lorcana, but they were only a couple starter decks, and they were from like Floodborne stuff that I already
Okay.
had. So I'm like, I'm not gonna get a starter deck just to get a pack. There was no loose packs or anything. But then they had baseball, basketball, and then they had UFC ones. They had two different versions that I think Donruss makes some, and what's the other one? Tops maybe makes the other one. And I was like so close to grabbing them, and then I was like, maybe I'll get them another day or something. I'll
You'll
look
get them
online
later.
or whatever. And I still haven't. But like, yeah, I really want to get into some of that stuff, like outside of just Lorcana that I'm liking now. But and I think because those are more like a trading card collector thing, I'll think I'll be more into it because I do want to play Lorcana. I know we've kind of talked about
Yeah, I
maybe even
agreed.
doing it on here at one point, but it's kind of like you can't just play that with anybody.
No,
So like at the same time, I'm like, maybe I'm just more of a true collector and I'll play that if I play it. So maybe I'll grab some of these other sports cards. But
it's
I don't know, that's a
crazy.
whole nother
So
damn whole
there's
rabbit
a
hole that we'll go
new,
down.
which I know I had mentioned to you, but there's a new like trading card hobby store that opened like right down the road from
Mm-hmm.
me,
I
and
did.
their name's Short Gamers. And I noticed the other day on their social they had like a Lorcana game night, like a tournament there.
Yeah, which they
And
do that
part
in
of me is
small
just
spots.
like, I gotta really learn how to play, and I want to go and
Yeah.
try to do that.
And you could win boxes and packs and stuff
Yeah,
if you
they were
win,
giving
which
out
is cool.
prizes and stuff.
Yeah.
And I know he's gonna do it for Star Wars Unlimited, which that's another game that we haven't really talked about. I know you're not really gonna be into that, but like another card, like cards. It's just give me cards, give me cards. Like,
It's gonna be interesting. But yeah, that's like extra stuff that we definitely love getting into and collecting. If you guys like talking about that, let us know. If you like us talking about it, because again, we'll rip stuff open. We'll make this, really a full blown collector,
yeah,
channel when it comes down to it. But yeah, I think that'll be it because we had some tight episode with a lot of good important stuff that's either being announced or coming out, and stuff that we're going to be looking forward to. But definitely we'll hope for some crazy news with this whole little Project Fred and some of the big boy stuff. And then once we hear more about the Chicago Con stuff, we'll obviously talk about that later on. But definitely make sure to let us know, like the video down below. That would really help us out. And make sure to subscribe and everything like Charlie said earlier. Follow us on all our socials, which Charlie will let you guys know, and we'll let you guys go. So really
yeah.
appreciate another great episode. Charlie, you can let us go.
Another amazing episode. And if you haven't already, please follow us on Instagram at Collector Chatter and then at Pop_Migs and at Collector_Charlie. And like Mick said, please, if you haven't already, could you like this video? Hit that notification bell so you know when new videos come out. Shoot down some comments. Let us know anything what you think of the new Project Freddy, trading cards, etc., etc. We love it all. And as always, collecting is the way. Later, everyone.
Bye, everybody.